The following production is brought to you by the Talkin Buds Leafs Show.
Here we go, Talkin Buds Leafs Show. Every week, I would say in the history of this podcast, we're on the more emotional side of things. Like you and I love a good spaz. We've always loved a good spaz. I think the last 2 weeks in particular have been extra spaz filled. Like you and I have done a ton of crying in the last 2 episodes. And I think with this Leaf team, there's always things that you can look at and things that you can shoot holes in and stuff you'd like to see change or be done differently. But I mean, 7-1-2 in their last 10 with guys like Max Lajoie playing defense. No disrespect to Max Lajoie, but like he's on their blue line. They're 7-1-2 in their last 10.
Yeah. I know they just I mean, in fairness, the crying and the spazzing, especially the spazzing, just comes from years of frustration. Yes. And I think everybody can understand that.
Yes.
That is something that, and I feel like our listeners kind of are in that camp, in that David camp. And
David camp.
But yeah, here they're just doing the thing again where you just look and they're 7-1-2 in their last 10. And you can say what you want about certain players on their hockey team or the lack of defense core, but they're still kind of just like getting it done. And it's hard to hold off the crying because of the end game. But as of right now, like I almost just have to stop crying for 10 seconds and give them some props.
This is definitely a stop crying episode because I do think the narrative that some people outside the market have said about how any other team with a decimated blue line like them going 7-1-2 in their last 10, the narrative would be look at this team racking up wins and racking up points when their blue line is in the state that it's in. But here, you're right, because of the history and because of what the end game is and should be, we have a harder time viewing it that way. But fresh off the Saturday night win against the Nashville Predators, like that was, in my opinion, bell to bell, that was their best win of the season thus far. It was their tidiest win of the season thus far.
They started on time.
It was one of their better defensive efforts. They took care of Samsonov. Like, we're going to talk about the Joe Woll injury, but like Samsonov goes back in there. We know the state of his confidence. We know like where he's at. And I thought that they did a really good job. It's like it kind of got through to them. Maybe Joe Woll getting hurt and going down and like the severity of that is maybe the kick in the ass that this group needs to go, oh shit, we actually need to play defense here. Like we can't keep blowing the zone. Our blue line is decimated. Our goalie, who was like rounding into form and was in the midst of a star-making performance against the Ottawa Senators, is gone. We need to get our shit together here and pull our socks up and actually play well in our own end.
Yeah, and I think that just almost them getting in a groove again, actually playing a game every other day almost is going to help that as well. I think that their schedule based off the Sweden trip has been kind of fucked.
It's kind of fucked. It's been super fucked.
And you can make the argument that they've had time to rest and time to like heal. And when we start playing games every other day, when we start playing 12 games and 23 days or whatever is coming up, then we can't then start complaining about how much hockey they're playing. But I don't know, like there is a thing to being in a groove and playing every other night.
Do you think so? In the last like week or so, I think Auston Matthews has kind of come into the eye of criticism within the media and the fan base. And like the points are there, the goals are there, but in terms of it's what we've always said about him. It's we feel like there's another gear there that at times he's gotten to that right now he's not. We'd like to see him be a bit more dominant. do you attribute that to this schedule? Like, he's a guy that once we start getting into a groove here, we could see him kind of level up a little bit.
Yeah, I guess. I guess that's possible, but he's had a weird year, man. He's had a kind of a weird year. He's tied for the lead in goals now. He's going to be right up there for the Rocket all year. You can't debate that. And if you look at the statistics since he's been in the league, like he's almost on pace to like be where Ovi is right now.
Should we start viewing him a little more in that light? Like, I do think sometimes we expect him, because of the money he's paid and because of the timing with which they both came into the league, he does get paired with McDavid a little bit in terms of like being a dominant force out there. But instead of comparing him to that, like maybe his career, he's always just going to be an Ovi, like an elite goal scorer. And that's what he is. And he's not a guy that's going to take over games and score a goal like the one Connor McDavid scored, where he literally deked through the entire Minnesota Wild team the other night and put it in the net.
Yeah, but then it's a problem because
of the money he's paid.
Yeah, like he has to be compared to McDavid because he sees himself in that light.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yes.
Ovi never was making money that was just totally destroying their salary cap.
Yeah.
So and the expectations of him being McDavid, like the media has perpetuated that. How many times has this guy been called the second best player in the NHL?
Yeah.
And he's an elite goal scorer. There are no two ways about it. And when it's all said and done, he's going to be right up there, one of the greatest goal scorers to ever play the game. But you cannot argue with the numbers, but as we've spoke about before, and as you've heard, Brian Hayes has said this as well, he does blend into hockey games sometimes when he's not scoring goals. He just doesn't have that gear to go out there and just drive play every shift.
There's an intensity that lacks in his game. Like there's a real, when you watch him, that to me is what stands out the most, is like he doesn't have, like, you're seeing it with Matt Knies a bit now, where Matt Knies has started to realize, like, hey, I'm one of the bigger guys out here. I can run some guys over.
I'm pretty sure he leads the team in hits.
Yeah, and like that's the level of that we want Matthews to get to. And I think sometimes that gets misconstrued as like, oh, you're asking him to be somebody he's not. It's like, no, we're asking him to like be less on the periphery, but that's kind of how he plays. He's kind of like, he likes to strike. Like you look at the goals that he got against Nashville. It's him jumping in at the right time. The puck finds him and he fires it in the net. It's like rarely is he going in, bumping some guy off the puck, deking through a few guys and burying one top shelf. It's like he's right place, right time on his tape in the net. That's usually how he scores.
Yeah. And if you want to compare him to Ovi,
right place, right time.
No, Ovi eventually figured out that he was one of the biggest dudes on the ice and he started destroying people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of highlight reels of Ovi mucking guys.
Yep.
So I just think if this guy's never going to do that. He's never going to do that. But I mean, his numbers are great, but like I said, like it's just like he's just always going to kind of leave you wanting more based on the hype, based on the contract, and whether it's fair or not, that's just the position he's in.
Except for when he, like, the year he got 60 and won the Hart. That run he went on there was kind of like, this is what you want to see from him on a more consistent basis.
Yeah. I'm just sick of people telling me to temper my expectations with certain players. It's just like, if you want to be the big dog and you want to get paid the big dog money, and it doesn't just apply to him, it applies to all the guys who are making money on this team, then like, you're always going to be expected to do more than what you can give, because that's the position you put yourself in. And I'm never going to apologize for ever wanting more out of that guy, because he thinks he's the best player in the league, and I think he's not. And he needs to. And some nights I want him to play like the best player in the league, but he's not capable of it. But I don't think I can ever adjust that expectation. I'm always going to want more from that guy, even if he scores if he scores 60, he scores 60. But it's just, some nights it just looks like he's just another guy out there.
But I think sometimes when you look at him and you want more, it's because we've seen him get there. Like you're saying, like, this guy thinks he's the best player in the league, and most nights he's not. But we've seen him get there. We've seen him be dominant. We've seen him be a beast. We've seen him, like go out and score goals and win games and dominate the league. He was pretty good in the first round against Tampa last year. Like that was a good series for him. So I think it's always going to be a debate with Auston Matthews of like, are we being too hard on him? And I think when you sign that deal for that money, you're signing up, like you're basically signing consent, being like, the narratives around me are always going to be crazy, and I just have to deal with it because I'm getting paid huge money. I'm the highest paid player in the league.
And it doesn't help that the GM comes out and tells us that it was a bargain getting him at that.
You hated that.
That was the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
You hated that, and you've always been a Brad guy.
Yeah, like that was that. Like, shut up. That wasn't a bargain. Like, come on. Like, that also, and that makes it worse for me. It's like so this guy thinks he's worth more and he did us a favor. Like, that's a joke.
Yeah.
Like, no one in this league other than 97 is that good.
Yes.
Like, that is the only guy.
Would you put like when Cale Makar's going, he's pretty otherworldly.
Kucherov's pretty otherworldly right now.
And the guy who plays with McDavid.
Yeah. Pasternak's pretty disgusting.
There you go. So look, we just named a bunch of guys.
But I don't know. Like, it's... I mean, also someone could make the argument that when he's out of games, that he's not providing offensively, that he's being kind of like defensively responsible, and that's taking away from his offense. But it's just sometimes when he's on the ice during a shift, it's like you don't even. I don't know. You're always just gonna want a little bit more from him, and I don't know if that's fair or not. But the money's always gonna make me want more.
Joe Woll in the midst of a star-making performance. It was like a nothing play, and he goes down and has to be helped off the ice. We learn later that it's a high ankle sprain, which I actually was relieved to hear, because right away I was like, oh my God, this is a hip or a groin. And like, we know the history of goalies and groin injuries and how long those take to heal and how some guys are never the same after they have an injury like that. And I know like having a high ankle sprain probably sucks, but at least that's something that like we know can heal. And once it's good to go, it won't. I have a hard time seeing that hindering him long term the way a groin injury would. But the knock against Joe Woll in his young career has always been he has a difficult time staying healthy. Like, this guy has missed large chunks of time over the last few years. He missed all of training camp last year with an injury. Like, he struggles to stay healthy. He's just one of those guys.
I feel like this is the story of every Leaf goalie, though. Like, Freddie Anderson was good for a decently long injury every year he was here. Samsonov got injured last year at some point. Murray was playing well at one point, got injured, and he's never come back. Samsonov got injured in the playoffs. I just feel like Leaf goaltenders there's just kind of like a weird little voodoo over them getting an injury. And
that one was particularly tough because that was I almost wasn't surprised that he got hurt because his body was contorted.
The amount of times he pushed off on his leg to get to the other side of the crease, he made, how many 10 bellers did he make that were very difficult?
In the first period, he made 3 or 4 10 bellers.
And it's a shame. It's just one of those things that this was the most positive thing of the season. And I think going forward with this franchise, if this guy can pan out, it's going to be massive. Obviously, he's got to stay healthy, but it was just one of those things that happened. And then you were like, all right, I guess we're just moving on.
Well, and so this kind of brings the focus back to the goaltending discussion. Like, Samsonov went in Saturday against the Predators. I thought he looked pretty good. As I said off the top, I think they did a really good job protecting him. Justin Bourne made a good point on their post-game show last night that Samsonov has always played better and looked better when he's not involved in a competition. Something about fighting a guy for the net he seems to struggle with. Like last year, once Matt Murray was no longer a factor, he kind of settled in and took the reins and became their number one. Now it's like Joe Woll is on the shelf for a few weeks, so he's going to get a chance here to kind of take the net. And also, this is why they went and got a guy like Martin Jones. Like, it's good. It does make you feel better that as they go on this run here in the next while where they play a lot of games, to have a veteran guy like Martin Jones going out there and not some like depth guy from the Marlies or Michael Hutchinson or something like that. Like,
yeah. I mean, I did see this team a couple times over the past couple of years go on a decent run with Eric Shalgren in
It's
net.
true. It's
So
true.
it is something
It's
you
true.
can survive.
It's true. It is, especially when like as their blue line starts to get healthier here. But I do think we should give a shout out to these guys. It's frustrating to watch some nights. Like I think Connor Timmins has really, really struggled since he's come back. Like he looks like a guy that missed half a training camp and is trying to get caught up. When that puck gets on Connor Timmins' stick, oh my God, it almost always ends up as a turnover for the other team. But to get thrown in to the situation that these guys like a Simon Benoit, a William Legason, a Max Lajoie, a Connor Timmins, that these guys are thrown in, I think they've done like a pretty good job. And I think you got to tip your hat to these guys.
I think Simon Benoit has played pretty well. I think he's getting more comfortable every single game. I got nothing but good things to say about that guy. And sometimes when I watch their D, it's like Connor Timmins is really struggling and he's making awful decisions, and you could chalk it up to him just being injured and coming back and being behind. Plus, he never really was a quote unquote NHL defenseman. But sometimes I just watch these guys and it's not that they're making bad plays. It's just they're not good enough to play in the league.
So, but the problem is too, is I think I had to get my weekly Sheldon Keefe dig in. Keefe wants them to play this heavy puck possession style, right? So when you get the puck in your end, like the Leafs are never an off the glass and in team. Like that's not who they've ever been against.
There's
Sheldon
a lot of
Keefe.
D to D passes.
Yes,
There's
and I
too
think
many D to D.
These guys are
sometimes.
not skilled enough. It's very hard to ask a guy like Connor Timmins to play that style. He just doesn't have the puck handling ability to make a good outlet pass all the time, right? So I think that's when you call these guys up. Like I thought the Ottawa game, it's funny, right? The two games this week is kind of a tale of two things. It's like I thought the Ottawa game, they got caved. I thought all the new guys looked awful. I thought they lost every battle. They were turnover machines. Like Woll is bailing them out left, right, and center. But then you know what? They get a couple days off and a couple practices, and then I thought they were much better against the Preds. And like the Preds are a brutal hockey team. Like that Nashville team is a brutal hockey team.
Weren't they like red hot coming into that
They're in a
game?
playoff spot in the West, but
Didn't they win like a shitload of games in a row?
You said it last night, man. Those unis.
Oh
like,
yeah, brutal.
I'm sorry.
Brutal matchup for Saturday.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry.
Terrible.
Like I know that there's a lot of sour grapes throughout this country about the slot that the Leafs get on hockey night every Saturday, especially when they go out west. But you can't be having the Nashville Predators as the team on a Saturday night game. Like, absolutely not. And I know the league probably set it up that way, and it just so happened they were coming through Southern Ontario on a Saturday. But come on. Like, that's the Nashville Predators. Like, we couldn't have flipped the games the other night and had Ottawa at home. At least that's a divisional game.
Yeah. Yeah, those beautiful. Like I've no ill will against the Predators in terms of franchises that belong in the NHL.
Yeah,
like they're not in that Columbus category for me. But yeah, those uniforms just don't do it.
Oh no, and
they just don't do it.
No,
for me.
they don't. It's not a great side. That's the second time this year they've played them on a Saturday night hockey night game.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but yeah, I get
these guys, they're trying their best, but they're not skilled enough guys to play this possession style that Keefe. Also, the style they play too is very turnover. It's very dangerous from like a puck protection perspective. Like you always hear Keefe saying, "Take care of the puck, take care of the puck," but it's like, how many times do you see like a Jake McCabe get the puck on his stick and do a backhand pass around saucer that ends up on the other team's stick because that's just the way they want to play. Once they get the puck, they do not want to give it up.
Even though I do think that guy's also playing a lot better lately as well.
Yeah, that guy, man. Jake McCabe's role, in an ideal world, Jake McCabe is your 5th or 6th defenseman who goes out there, lays a couple nice hits, takes some guys away from the puck, and is just solid. One thing he kept doing earlier this year that just I did not understand. Like the Nashville game, he takes a penalty. He comes out of the box, and because they're hemmed in their zone, he's got to go up and play forward. And I'm like, oh my god, Jake McCabe's living his dream right now. He's a forward.
Yeah, he's just not that
guy,
offensive.
That dude does not have a ton of offensive skill, and for a guy who doesn't, man, does he love to jump in on the rush. Yeah. Oh my god. And I'm always like, Jake McCabe, man, just stay back. Like last night, he laid a couple guys out, and it's like, yes, that is what you're here for.
They did lay out, but I thought a bunch of dudes threw some nice hits. Like even Simon Benoit, that guy's getting a lot more comfortable throwing the body around.
Do you see a scenario like we brought Knies up last week, and you said that you would trade him for a defenseman, and you got subsequently got murdered in the comments on our YouTube video for that take. What's the end game for him this year? Like, do you see him staying on the top line this year, or do you see him coming back? Because Nick Kyprios on the Fan has been steadfast that he still believes that the end game for the playoffs is Matthews, Marner, Bertuzzi as the top line.
Rob,
I know. I hold on. I know.
This is a conversation I cannot.
I know.
I cannot. Like,
but you know what, dude? I see people on Twitter all the time who are like, "Man, I think Tyler Bertuzzi's been way better since coming." And I'm like, I don't know what you're watching.
Sucks.
Yeah, I do not know what. I don't know what these people are. The people who are like, if you're somebody who thinks Tyler Bertuzzi is playing well right now, comment below and tell us why you think that. And not to be an ass, like genuinely, I want to know, because I see people on Twitter all the time who are like, man, Tyler Bertuzzi, he looks pretty good. I thought Bertuzzi was one of their better guys last night. And I was like, I barely even noticed him.
I didn't say I wanted them to trade Matt Knies. I love Matt Knies. What I was trying to say, because I was also throwing a spaz at the time.
Yes.
If they had an opportunity to get a number one defenseman, I would consider moving him because he's the only guy in your team that's worth that. That's all I said. And whether that guy is not out there, that trade is never going to happen. It was just, even though we don't deal in hypotheticals, it was kind of a hypothetical. It's just like if you had a chance to get, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Every team's kind of in it right now. But say they had a chance to get like Roman Yossi or something. Like I would trade Matthew Knies for a number one.
You're
defenseman.
Talking like an elite NHL,
an elite NHL defenseman that some team was offloading. Like I would consider moving him for that. That's all I meant. But Matt Knies is throwing the body. He looks great. Have we not learned our lesson here? No one is ever going to be satisfied with the lines. No. It's just this season is so long and so boring at times that we have nothing to talk about. So we're debating. I think the end game is Bertuzzi. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
How about everyone goes out and just plays, let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
Like, what does that even mean?
But do you see
why is that the end game? Why is that the end game?
I don't know. Having said that though, what do you think of, like, do you see Knies staying on that first line?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? The guy forechecks his ass off. The guy goes in, throws the body.
He's had a revelation. Yeah.
He set the tone against Nashville. He went in the first shift they were on the ice, put a guy on his ass on a forecheck, created a turnover, and they got a scoring chance. Like, isn't that what you want on that line? Isn't that what we always wanted on that line?
He, to me, I brought him up last week as one of my bright spots through the first 25 games of the season, because this kid is a bona fide top six player who they've got him on the cheap for another couple of years.
Like, I'd like to see him, obviously, as he evolves, produce some more points. But all we've been complaining about is how this team doesn't have a guy who can go in and forecheck and turn the puck over. This guy, the last guy who did that really effectively was Zach Hyman, and this guy is doing that right now.
Yes.
Why do you want a glorified fourth liner to play with Marner and Matthews?
Yeah.
Tyler Bertuzzi looks like he's going to a old GTHL rink on a Saturday morning to play house league. I actually think he is the biggest dud in it. I've never been more wrong about somebody than this guy. I think he is terrible. He can't skate. He provides no offense. He's supposed to be a shit disturber. What shit has he disturbed this year? None. What has this guy done? Why is that the end game? Do you look at that and be like, that's the line that's going to take them over the top? This guy's done nothing.
Yeah.
He looks like a fourth liner out there.
He's got 9 points through 24 games.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
And it's not like he's not playing PP1, but like he's gotten pretty good minutes on the first 2 lines all year. This guy's done nothing.
Yeah.
Max Domi has more points than him.
Yeah. Well, Max looks Max don't.
Max needs a couple more goals, obviously.
But Max, it's like, dude, you got one the other night, and now you're just like, okay, I'm not going to shoot the puck anymore. It's like shoot the puck.
The guy needs to shoot the puck more. But I don't get that at all. Tyler Bertuzzi has proved nothing to me.
Yeah, but listen, man, I'm gonna say every time that Tyler Bertuzzi criticism comes up, I'm always gonna follow it up with this. Just like last week when you pointed out how I can't chirp John Tavares without saying he's still elite down low.
Yeah.
I'm one thing I will say about Tyler Bertuzzi is if guy scores a couple big goals in April,
and guess what? When he does that in April, then you can start being like, if he starts scoring goals in April and Matt Knies or whoever's playing on the top 2 lines isn't playing well, then move him around.
Yeah.
As of right now, I don't know what you could look at in his game and say that he belongs to play on the first line.
Well, it's also I also went on this rant a couple weeks ago about how like, oh, well, you can't break Matthews and Marner up or whatever. And I was kind of like, you guys are supposed to be elite players. Like, you should be able to go out there and play with anyone and make something happen.
The line conversation in this city is so
You're right, though.
ridiculous.
You're right, though. It's a long season, and I think people hone in on this stuff. Yes, and especially, like, they'll probably make a move or two heading into the deadline. It'll look totally different.
How many teams in the league just lock in lines? Like, I'm sure there's a couple off. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's a couple teams that like lock in lines. But McDavid and Draisaitl will always get kind of moved around. They either load them up or they move off each other's line. Like, it's just it's always a fluid conversation. And unless when it's really bad, when no one's like producing any offense, then okay, we start bringing it up. Let's move Nylander and Marner around again if we're not producing offense. But just already be talking about the final lines in the playoffs. Like, you have no content to talk about.
It's true.
That is just, I don't know.
2 more things I want to hit on with you before we get out of here. First one, power play has dropped to 9th in the league. Pass. Some teams
are exposing, like when you watch the Florida Panthers play the Leafs, you said that team exposes everything that's wrong with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Nashville Predators did that for the penalty kill. If you're a penalty kill defending against the Leafs, do not chase anybody around. Just stand in your tight box and just block all the shooting lanes and you're good. Like, they cannot find an open pass. That they try to like put it out front, out like in a tight spot all the time. It never works. Just let them, if you're a defending team, let them pass it around. That's all they do.
Well, I also said that I think their power play is super indicative to how these guys think when they're out there. They don't want to, no one wants to score the dirty goal. No one wants to fire it on net and bang in the rebound. They want to do tic-tac-toe, pretty, open net, fire it in.
But they don't pass it around fast enough.
No, they don't.
Like, if you're going to go like watch, what game was I watching the other night? I can't remember who they were playing, what game it was, but the team that was on the power play against the Leafs, like, they were finding their one-time guys so easily because they were just firing the puck around like nothing.
Yep.
And they're just dilly-dallying with it, trying to find the right play, but they don't move the puck fast enough. And teams are just stand there and block the shooting lanes, and you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was interesting because it kind of started out with this new Guy Boucher revamped power play. Started out looking like it did like last year, like production-wise. And in the last few weeks, yeah, it's really... But again, they've just gone back to this pass. So, I don't know. It just kind of is what it is. It's how these guys want to play. I think the power play is just like everything else. It's going to go through periods where it...
Well, the power play is like the team.
Yes.
Every year, they're in the top 5 in the power play. And we're complaining about it. And it's like, why are you complaining about it? They're in the top 5 in the power play. Because they get in the playoffs and it doesn't do anything.
Yes.
They can't capitalize on big power play opportunities in the playoffs. So it's finishing in the tops of the league in the power play on the regular season, like, good for you. But every time we get to April, it never shows up. So, but their penalty kill has been really good.
Mm-hmm.
The penalty
kill started off rough, and it's gotten a lot better in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Thanks to David Kampf, a lead goal scorer.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing I want to hit on, have a little bit of fun with this. Like, obviously, you know, we're Leaf podcast, diehard Leaf fans, but I think when you look around our studio here, we're dialed into the Toronto sports team. We've talked sports scene, excuse me. We've talked Jays on here before, and I just think we should comment a little bit on what was one of the craziest 24-hour cycles in Toronto sports history on Friday and then into Saturday with Shohei Ohtani. And the fact that we all believed he was on a private flight, which actually had Robert Herjavec from Dragon's Den on it, flying back here and to sign. And it was like, people were saying there were press conferences that were happening.
There was videos of him in like airports.
Yeah, and people would be like, he's arrived at Pearson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to be left at the altar here like 24 hours later that he signed with the Dodgers for $700 million. This is a, you know, for a sports fan base that has a huge, it shows itself in with the Leaf fan base as well. I think part of the reason why sometimes maybe these four guys, why I don't always buy into, oh, Toronto's such a hard market to play in, especially with these four core Leaf guys, is because like all Toronto wants is star players who want to be here, and they get showered with adulation. I think the inferiority complex is stronger when it comes to the Jays and the Raptors because they're the only Canadian team in their respective leagues. And you had the Kawhi Leonard situation a few years ago where same thing, we're tracking his flights. CP24 is helicopter is following his car on the way for him to come and just say, I'm signing with the Clippers. And yeah, this is I worry about the psyche of the Toronto sports scene here after this Shohei Ohtani situation.
Yeah, I mean, the whole situation, first of all, there was very credible sources reporting things that were incorrect. So we got to cut ourselves a break there. But we also have to listen to all the journalists in this city who say, be careful of social media, because as soon as one guy says one thing, then like how many group texts were you in that someone was like, he signed, and like they send it to each other. It's like, oh, never mind, it's a fake account. So unless there's somebody legit, which the guy reporting it usually is legit, you got to be careful. Like there's videos of him in the air, but like it's all fake. At the end of the day, when this whole thing started, I thought there was 0% chance they were ever getting this guy. And after thinking about it, it's like it makes no sense for him to come here. Unless they offered him like the biggest deal in history, but let's face it, like there's so many other successful franchises that have tons of money to spend.
Well, and the Dodgers
guy lives in LA.
The Dodgers,
already, man.
like he's just moving down the street.
Yeah, the guy lives in Newport Beach. Yeah. Like, why is he packing up to go to the Danforth? Yeah, like, what is it like? You know, like it's like it made no sense. Honestly, even if they got him, obviously it'd be the most fun thing ever. The guy is ridiculous, but they still got a lot of work to do in that lineup. I don't know. It was wild. It's a cautionary tale that if this ever happens again, we need to stay off Twitter
and everybody
and wait for the word, man.
Yeah, and I think
everyone wants to be the first guy to break the story, and it's.
Well, and just
I get
like
the excitement though. Like he is worth it. Like he is worth the hype. Like there's no two ways about it. Like he's probably the biggest figure in North American sports right now.
Do you think? I think the thing that I also worry about messing with the Toronto sports fan psyche, collective psyche, is, do you think that they use the Jays as leverage to get $700 million from the Dodgers?
I think they would have leveraged any team that was willing to offer him I don't think it's just Toronto, because it's like you wanted to come to Toronto. I think if any team was willing to keep going up and up and up and up, that was going to be the team that was going to be used as leverage.
Yeah.
But like, if you really sit back and think about it, it makes zero sense for that guy to come here. Like, why would he just pack up where he already lives? Like, he just moved down the street. Like, the money was never going to be that. Like, the Jays were never going to offer $200 million more than another team. It made no sense. Yeah. So Let's
All right. Well,
let's stay
didn't
off
wanna,
socials.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave this week without commenting on that. Just one of the most wild scenes as a sports fan in this city that I can ever remember.
Yeah, we're gonna cut ourselves a break though. There was reports from legit people that are leading people astray, and it started in the morning where the decision is imminent, and then it just started an absolute snowball. So. Just do not fall for fake accounts.
No.
So many times somebody sent me a thing being like, he signed, and it's just some schmo pretending to be somebody else. It's ridiculous.
All right, buddy, get out of here. You mentioned the schedule off the top, and they're about to kick into it here. You got the Islanders Monday, the Rangers the very next night. I'm guessing, it'll probably be Samsonov against the Islanders and then Marty Jones against the Rangers. Then you got the Blue Jackets on Thursday and then Kyle Dubas's basement-dwelling Pittsburgh Penguins next Saturday. The storyline heading into Monday's game against the Islanders is John Tavares is sitting at 998 points. And so wouldn't it be great if he could hit the 1,000-point mark in Long Island against his old team?
Yeah. I mean, sure.
I do think that's kind of past though. Like it's been a few years now. Like obviously every time he goes back there, he's going to get booed, but I don't think it's as vitriolic as it was a few years ago when they played that game there and people were throwing snakes on the ice.
No, I mean the Islanders did go on. They did go to the Eastern Final, I think twice without him, and Tavares hasn't really done a thing with the Leafs other than have like a couple of good seasons. So it's. Nobody really won anything in this deal. I think the Islanders just saved a shitload of cap space. Yeah, so who cares about that anymore?
All right, well, we will be back probably next Sunday. So tons of new subs lately, tons of engagement, tons of comments. We love every second of it. We appreciate it so much. Keep it coming. If you're listening to the audio version, please do so as well. A little star rating always helps us out.
Spread the word, tell your friends, and stop. And you know what else? But in our comment too, it's just the guy who always comments, and I hope you're listening, is what he calls us the Valley Boys.
Oh yes, yeah.
So I'm trying I just want to let you know, man, I tried so hard this episode to not say the word like. It was on my mind for the past 37 minutes.
Oh, we get that all the time.
I know. It's very difficult.
It is.
He calls me out, and I watch it. I'm like, damn, he's right.
Yeah, we get that.
He's right,
that
man.
all the
I say
time.
like so much.
So do I.
Buddy,
I put on a clinic in using the word like last week.
Yeah.
I tripled your amount of likes last week.
Yeah.
When I start ranting,
I know.
Then it's just like how I always make fun of Tavares for using obviously as like a transition word.
Yeah.
Like is my transition word.
I know. So you know what, man? I just want you to know that you were on my mind for the past 38 minutes. I tried so hard. I might even listen back to try to see how many times. I think we did a good job.
I think we both did pretty good today. Thanks for checking us out, everybody. We'll catch you next time.